rush up here right at 2. Like Wednesday, I do that, and then like today, I have to go to the private practice on the other end. Leave at about right at 2:45 to get down there. But we are covering some of the developmental stuff. Was the video able to be seen? You were watching from the video on Friday? I remember you texting about it.
I didn't. That's why I had asked, were you doing online? Because I didn't see usually like when I want to say stream on YouTube, and you post a video, I'll automatically get the notification.
Right.
But I haven't got it.
Okay.
So I had just watched the movie.
Right. Okay. Oh, you were able to watch it though? Cool. Okay. That's what I was finishing up today. Like I had the last half hour of it today. But if you've already seen it, then I won't play it, and we'll go over some of the chapter 5 stuff and stuff on nutrition and kids development. And
if we do get some more students, then you could play the other half.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But if it's just me,
yeah, it's the last 35 minutes, which is good. I'm glad you're able to get it. Do you have Amazon Prime? Is that how you got it for free somehow, or somebody you know had it?
Yeah. That's
good. Okay. So I hate for you guys to have to pay for it. That's why I put the link. Actually, the link in there is the sequel to that movie. So if you ever go in, and let me see if I can get into it here. So if you go into the link, shoot, I have to go. I hate when it does it this way. Like right about here. No. That human behavior. So there's like 3 parts of this movie now. But if you go to this, I kind of did a bootleg of it, the sequel. So if you ever want to watch the sequel, it's right here. So it's called Resilience. It's about like kids that had trauma, and then these are the resilient kids that have kind of since made it through trauma. And I filmed it with my computer. So it does get a little better with the lighting. It's probably like right there. What did you think about the movie though? Was it able to make sense? Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 times watching it to make sense of it, you know, like how.
Me personally with the movie, it made sense to me when I first got it because some of the stuff, I went to a school like that.
Mm-hmm.
I know people go through that, or I personally went through what they went through.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly feel like schools should take more result of looking into why the child is acting like that, what is going on.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, a child could fight, could do this, and you're suspended.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're expelled.
Uh-huh.
But you gotta understand, when you keep suspending and expelling somebody, that's not doing it.
Right.
Really. You're basically hurting the child by taking their education away. And I feel like once you investigate, like, okay, what is going on? Is everything okay at home?
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, because I basically take care of my brothers and sisters while my mom works. There's plenty of time for this and for that. Okay, this is going on at home. This is what we're going to do. We're going to get you help. What is it? You know, there's multiple people you can talk to.
Yes, and so that we actually made a school like that in Cincinnati also. It's called Lighthouse Community School. That's one of my publications. I wrote an article on it, and we used, it's called trauma-informed approach. So like knowing that there was trauma, and like you said, not kicking them out. Sometimes the kids need time to like grieve, so they give them the chance to even just like curl up and sleep in the corner for a while and then figure it out. Yes, at some point you're going to have to move forward and start making progress on whatever it may be, but figuring out, starting from their basic needs, if they don't have good shelter or food in the house or safe living spaces, you know, a lot of time, a good example I'll use often is if kids are like falling asleep all the time and you find out that they got bed bugs in their house, so they can't really sleep safely in the house because every night they're getting eaten up by bed bugs. So they wake up And we don't know that until we kind of dig in. So they're using more of that trauma-informed approach at a lot of different schools. And as social workers, we probably will use that with the majority of our clients too, knowing that some trauma, whether big or small, came and brought us to the situation that we're currently in. You know, like we're not just going to be born on the sunny side of the street and everything's going to go perfect forever. Like we may have a speed bump and need help. So that's why we're coming to the social worker and why listening with patients is like so important, you know, just knowing their developmental stuff. And that's why going through the kids' different developmental things that we have here, knowing that it could happen as young as this, and that can affect them all the way through their life, or it could happen at older than that, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. But I did want to start with this. So I had a video explaining these, what was called the 3 mountain problem. I wanted to show this because it's actually kind of cute and it's kind of funny too. Let's see if this works.
Can you tell me what you see when you look at that from where you're sitting? What are some of the things that you see?
And a cat.
A cat.
And a tree and a bone.
Okay, now we're going to do the same thing. Can you tell me what you see?
So he's sitting on the other side now. It's kind of showing that kids at this age are more egocentric and they aren't able to remember and see from another person's perspective. You know, like you only know from your own perspective. And it tells us a lot about the kid. Like, you know, we can't really have empathy at that young of an age easily because you're thinking only for yourself and survival and moving forward. And this shows how the little guy
See,
is
when you look at
cute.
it.
Every kid does this too.
An owl?
And him.
What is that?
A goat.
A goat?
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything else you see?
Yeah, right there.
Right there, what is that?
A tree.
A tree.
And that's another little tree.
Another little tree? Right. And can you tell me what I see when I look at this from where I'm sitting right here?
An owl.
Okay.
And a goat.
Mm-hmm.
And another tree. And that. And that.
So he can't really see that she's blocked
Okay,
by
so can you
those.
tell me what you see from that side?
Every kid,
A fox and a bone. And a volcano.
and this kid's a little bit older, so he is actually.
So basically, I don't remember that saying, but it's basically like it's the same thing, but you and another person could view it different.
Right, yes. And until you're like 5, you aren't able to see how like the person on the other side of the stool is seeing it. Like, even though he already had seen it and he knew that there was the bone and the cat and the tree, when he got to the other side, all he saw was like the 3 mountains. And when she says, "What do I see?" He doesn't answer it right. The little kid does. Now this kid probably will because he's like older than 5, and that's about when that goes away. So if I'm remembering, let me.
Yeah.
A rock and a big fat Christmas tree.
Now, Braxton, can you tell me what I see from where I'm sitting?
A bird and a river and a volcano and a horsey and a rock and a tree.
So he remembered everything that she had
3
seen.
mountains. And it went on something like this. We don't have the mountains start variation. Okay?
And they show it with every different like example of a kid. You know, it doesn't matter what you look like or your poverty level or whatever. It's usually about 3 or 4. You're kind of egocentric, and I only see from my own perspective. But at 5 and 6, you start being able to think, oh, you guys actually see this board and the stuff behind me, and then. But even though the 3 mountains are blocking you, you can remember sitting from that other side, that example. So that was one of the first examples here. I want to make sure I've got the PowerPoint. So yeah, from the site dimension, it's at 3 to 4 years, you have the kids draw the mountain from their point of view, and they're just not able to see from your point of view. After that, though, this is like intuitive thought. That's from 4 to 7 years. Reasoning, but not formal logic. So the how and why of things, but the conservation problems are not there. And there's some funny videos about that too. So I'm going to show those to you guys before I move on. And I probably have to go to the conservation problems. Okay, this is actually really cute.
So I'm gonna make 2 rows of quarters.
And you can do this on your nieces and nephews or whoever. Like if they're that age, it'll be the
Does this
same.
row have more quarters? Does this row have more quarters, or are they the same?
The same.
The same? Okay, now watch. Now, does this row have more quarters? Does this row have more quarters, or are they the same?
That one has more quarters.
That one has more quarters?
Yeah.
Why does that one have more quarters?
Because it's stretched out.
Because it's stretched out?
Yeah.
Okay, so how many are in this row?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, how many are in this row?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So, are there more in this row, or are they the same?
The same.
The same?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 2 sticks. Is this stick longer? Is this stick longer, or are they the same?
The same.
The same? What about now? Is this stick longer? Is this stick longer, or are they the same?
That stick is longer.
The stick is longer?
Yeah.
Can you tell me why?
Because you moved it over.
So now it's longer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he has his own reasoning in there.
Each of these cups, and you're gonna have to tell me what.
Like he has his own thought process, but it's wrong. You know, they're just like not there yet. They're just at young enough an age. They don't make sense. And the water one shows it even better.
And then when they have the same amount, okay? Okay, tell me when this one is the same.
The same.
The same? Those 2 are the same now?
Yeah.
Okay.
The way it's the same.
Good. Okay, now watch this. We're gonna take the blue water from this glass, and we're gonna pour it into this glass. Now, does this glass have more water? Does this glass have more water, or are they the same?
Having more water.
This one has more water? Can you tell me why?
Because that one's higher than that.
That one's higher than that one.
So he thinks it has more water, but it's the same 2 cups. He's like, hey.
Right. Can you tell me, does this ball have more Play-Doh? Does this ball have more Play-Doh, or are they the same?
That one has more Play-Doh.
That one has more?
Yeah.
Let's try and make them the same. Go to 2 of the same size. What about now?
They're the same.
They're the same now? Okay, now watch. Now, does this one have more Play-Doh? Does this one have more Play-Doh, or are they the same?
That one has more
That
Play-Doh.
one has more Play-Doh, can you tell me why?
You smushed that
Why
one.
is that one smushed? How about? How about now? Does this one have more Play-Doh? Does this one have more Play-Doh, or are they the same?
The same.
Now they're the same, why are they the same?
You move that one back up.
Okay, great.
This one's actually kind of funny.
Okay, did we share the graham crackers fair? Is this fair?
Yes.
Yes? Can you tell me why it's fair?
Yeah, what did I do?
I have one,
You have 2 and I have 1.
is that fair?
No.
No? How about now?
So there's a lot of cute examples, and
So first we're gonna look at the,
eventually they, like as you get older, you start figuring out. But it shows how you can like trick little kids when there's situations like that. It's interesting because they do that also in consumer items like orange juice at the store. They make the bottle a little bit fatter or the lid bigger, but it's less orange juice, and they sell it to you for the same price. Anyway, here's one other one that's.
these two cups right here. Do you think there's the same amount of juice in this glass as there is in that glass? They're even? Okay. So we're gonna take the juice from this glass and pour it into this one right here. Okay, so now we're gonna look at this glass and that one. So do you think that there's more juice in this glass, more juice in this glass, or do you think that they have the same amount?
Same amount.
Okay, why do you think that they have the same amount?
Just because this is skinny doesn't mean it's not the same amount. It has the same amount of juice in it, but this one is just wider and this one's skinnier, but they have the same amount of juice.
So she was a little
Hi,
older.
my name is Jacob Bernellis, and I interviewed 4-year-old Landon for my child experiment. Okay. So what's your name? Landon, and how old are you?
4.
4? Cool, awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a couple questions. We're gonna do a couple of fun games with money and with toys and stuff like that. We're just gonna see, just answer how you normally would, okay? Okay.
So he's a little bit younger, and we can watch it later, but he is likely going to kind of follow the trend where he's like not able to, I'm going to put the slide up so you can see it, have that intuitive thought. So primitive reasoning, but not formal logic. So from 4 to 7, that kid was 4, and the younger ones were all younger. They're able to like kind of have primitive reasoning, but the formal logic is not totally there. So that comes when you're like 7. They consider that the age of reason. You saw them doing the conservation problems. Like they can't understand that properties of an object remain the same, even though aspects of it changes. And then with information processing, they're learning to attend to the relevant information. And with memory, problems of storage rather than retrieval. So they're still learning things. They can't like, get it in there just yet. And then, but you could have infantile amnesia. So that's no memory before age 3. Some of us have that. Like, that's pretty normal. I feel like I have that because I don't remember much at the age of 2. Like usually it's kind of a normal thing that goes on with our brain. Now, if you have a traumatic event, it is possible that you remember, like at 2, mom and dad got into a huge fight and I never saw my dad again. You know what I mean? Like you might remember that one. Any questions on those? Did those kind of make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And with communication, so they're missing some comprehension before the language. So, well, yeah, like my daughter, she only speaks, babbling really, but she knows when she's about to get picked up. She'll like, she'll reach her arms out. She's like getting it, but she can't talk about it, If she's hungry, like they start first by crying and freaking out. Eventually they learn how to ask for food or time to sleep. Then at 3 years, they can talk about people when objects are not present. So they have a vocab of like 900 words. And then at 6 years, you almost quintuple that or whatever. So vocab is between 8,000 and 14,000 words. And then you can hopefully get universal grammar. So the structural facets of language, ground rules are in a child's mind is not a blank slate, and then individual languages are single pattern variations. Kids at a young age actually can become bilingual. Have you ever seen any kids that speak 2 languages at a young age?
I'm gonna say no. I probably have, but I don't remember, but I'm gonna say no.
Right. So it's more often in like our Spanish speaking states like California, maybe Los Angeles, Texas. And they're pretty they're good. They pick up languages a lot quicker than the adults. So language development appears to be encouraged by frequency and type of responses that adult speakers verbalize to children. So if their parents are bilingual, then they'll be bilingual.
I know it's hard to understand.
What's that?
Because I think they're either African American and Mexican, or they can't speak another language, but their child will understand. Like, I believe one side of the family spoke Spanish, so when the grandma would talk to the child in Spanish, they will understand, but they can't speak it yet.
Right. Yeah. So you'll see that. And apparently at the age of 60, that comes back too. So when you're really old, you can pick up languages again quickly, which is interesting. I don't know why, but very young and then very old. And it says language development appears to be encouraged by the speakers. So if you are speaking in school, it's English, at home it's Spanish, you probably pick it up easy. Bilingualism does not cause speech or language problems. In fact, it may have cognitive advantages in the long term. So kids become more flexible and even smarter in a way if they're bilingual. And then some kids could have a language disorder. So like 3% of children or 5%, and then half of them will outgrow it. I didn't want to cruise too far on these. So at about 18 months, I'm sorry, I'm looking at that wrong. 15, 16 months, the kids have their first words. So that, that's older than a year. I guess my daughter shouldn't be speaking yet. Then at almost 2 years, 21 months, they have a vocab spurt. And it's not until almost 2.5 to 3 years they have like the use of sentences. And if you weren't able to see the first slide, I think they cut me off because when I play Paper Tigers, the YouTube cuts the channel. So it like deletes it, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to go back to just the first few that we had done that were in the video Friday. For you and for anybody else that watches it here. And then we'll review some of the Paper Tiger stuff. So these first years, there's autonomy, development versus independence. So like from physical care to self-care and social compliance, like the kids being fed, learn how to walk, tie its own shoes, and feed itself. And the 2 stages are from Erik Erikson is the theorist, and you could use one of those in your big final paper. He has 8 stages of development, and the first here is autonomy versus doubt. So that's the toddler stage from age 2 to 3 years. Like they want to do everything on their own. They are like wanting to be autonomous, and then sometimes they doubt if they can do it on their own. So they ask somebody to help them. Then after that is initiative versus guilt. So the preschool age is age 3 to 5 years. So they're starting to learn right from wrong and doing things on their own and learning if they do something bad. Here's a comparison of 1 and 4-year-olds. So at 1, goal is to master mobility. At 4, mobility is to explore independence. Like you run around, you're playing outside, you pick up things. At 1, you'll imitate sounds. At 4, you'll master the spoken language. At 1, you'll manipulate the physical world to learn things. Like I always see my daughter picking stuff up, and she'll always, it's kind of funny, she always does this. She like looks at it like all different angles, and it's just kind of funny. At 4, they'll use mental symbols. You can actually think of something that's not in your vision. And then at 1, the sense of self begins to connect to parents. And then at 4, you pursue relationships separate from your parents. A few other things that came up we talked about on Friday, is that girls develop quicker than boys, so gross and fine motor skills. And the gross motor skills are running and jumping, and fine motor skills are building towers, even pulling up a zipper. So girls get that quicker. Girls grow faster and mature even faster than boys do. Some of the things that could make your growth better and worse is one of the strengths is nutrition. So some are malnourished and they don't grow fast enough. Some are perfectly nourished and grow like at the average rate. And then some can also be, I guess, overnourished with the wrong things. Like in America, we have a lot of processed foods. So they said 1 in 3 children can be obese before age 5. So doctors will create family goals with that and have encouraged physical play. One of the hazards also is asthma, especially in other countries. If you have bad air quality in China, they lose about 1 million people a year die from bad air quality. And it can stunt your growth as a kid. So luckily here we have pretty good air quality, so we don't have to experience that as much. And then these are the different stages I was mentioning about that we just watched on the video about conservation and whatnot. And there's a lot of good videos if you wanted to watch a few more. But I did want to make for sure, because this is the second the second paper that will be, it's not due until next month, but I feel like next month is next week. So it's coming up, and it's just like a review, what you had just told me verbally about trauma-informed care and kids that have experienced trauma and how social workers will help with them. So that's like the next paper we have, either watching Paper Tigers or if you didn't have access to it, this video inside of here. So here's the next one due on Monday, 2 to 3 page reflection about trauma-informed care, how trauma affects the body and behaviors from conception to early childhood through adolescence and even into adulthood. So a lot of the movies we watched last week too. How will this help the way you choose to practice social work in the future? So that's like an opinion question. Like, will you consider trauma-informed approaches? And then to finish your social work degree, we have an internship senior year. So, will you choose an internship that uses trauma-informed focus if you can? And then will you choose a job for, that respects trauma-informed care? And then were you plan on going to MSW, get your MSW in graduate school? I can't remember.
I was planning on.
Okay, cool. That's good, as we qualify here and cut out a whole year of it. And so that paper will be APA, and cite with trauma. So the easiest ways, I feel like I've shown you guys this, but I want to show it again. One of the easiest ways to cite is going to Google Scholar. You'll see a lot of these. So if you type in something that says articles, usually the first thing that'll come up is about Scholar articles. And you can even do the most recent. This is the same for your final paper. So trauma-informed care for children. The coolest part is if you want to cite it, and here's your APA style, you click on the quotes, and then you just can copy it for the end of your paper. So, and then you just alphabetize it. So if you cite that article, inside the paper, you just write Cotuli et al. 2019, but at the end, you write references and then put in all that stuff. And you can download it. If they have it on the right side, they give you full text. So you can actually print these out, which is really helpful. Or just read them online if that's easy enough for you. And here, this is what references should look like at the end when you do APA style.
What is that?
Oh, Google Scholar. So if you go to scholar.google.com, you can search any type of an article. Heck, if you're doing trauma-informed care, you could even do.
You said Google.com.
Oh, yeah. So Google Scholar's website is actually scholar.google.com. And you could use that for all of your papers in grad school. It's helpful. I try to show it and film it for you guys in these classes for when you write up your papers, because in grad school, that's how they'll have it too. You could even cite mine if you wanted to, because here's my publication. This is the school that we created for behaviorally challenged youth. And we have this article about that. I think you can still, hey, we got cited, yay. So I think there's full text. Yeah, you can download it here, because at our school we have EBSCOhost. So you just click on that again on the side and you can print it out, and there it is. So this is the school. This is kind of where Cincinnati has a school that's for behaviorally challenged youth. So the same type of thing. You could cite that. So do you have any questions about that assignment? I'm a little behind on your all's discussion boards.
No, I just feel like people with mental problems or disabilities, I just feel like they shouldn't go to school by themselves. I feel like they should go to regular school. And the reason why I feel like that is because when you put them in a school with people that are just like them, they're gonna think something's wrong with them. Like,
Right.
in reality, there's nothing really wrong with them. It's just they're different because they have that problem.
Yeah, so hopefully they have a social worker at the normal school to talk about that with, possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to school with, special education kids. And they were normal. Like, they had them sit like at tables by themselves to eat lunch, and they didn't want that. Like, they wanted to walk up and say hi to us.
Right, yeah.
And hang out and stuff. And I just feel like
that's a good observation. You should put that in your paper about this, because I could come to an agreement with that too. And I could, I feel like maybe they're trying to create a school that is normal for these kids. And I'm with you that they should be integrated somehow, not separated out, and encouraged to go to school and like learn all the same things so that they can, like you said, move forward in life.
in reality, they think there's something wrong with them.
Right. So that would be a good part to put into that paper here that you have. And hopefully they do have either a counselor or a social worker there that can go over trauma-informed care, go over, I think at my high school, Purcell Marion High School, we did have everyone at our school, but there was a room for kids that had developmental disorders, stuff like that. And they did want to integrate, and they would come to prom, and they would come to lunch, and they did want to sit with everybody. So I feel like they were, at least when I left, were trying to integrate them,
I just feel like they should be in a regular classroom like everybody else.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I don't understand if you had, like, what do they call them? Like a student teacher helper?
Yes. Yep. They do have some
Or
of
a
this.
teacher assistant.
Yeah, teacher aide.
Yeah, I just feel like they should be in a regular class but have like a teacher aide sit right beside them.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like some are moving. You might even find articles on that approach, like integrating students into a student teacher aide helper topic. If there's, is this even Google Scholar? So you might even be able to find some like, so this one's about teachers' attitudes. I always like looking at the last 4 years of articles, so I'll click on that. That's a whole book. So yeah, it sounds like, there's already that thought that you're putting out there. Fostering social participation in inclusive classrooms of students who are deaf, regular and special education, teachers' attitudes towards school inclusion and disability. And these are even full text, so you can like download it. So yeah, looks like people are agreeing with you for sure. So cool. I'm glad, yeah. I'm glad we are moving that direction. And I'm glad for the idea of trauma-informed care, to know what trauma does to your brain development and like a reaction if like the kid's lashing out or acting out. If the teacher's at least trained on why that is, they don't have to be like, that's a dumb kid or a bad kid or I need to kick him out. Like they work with him. So I think that trauma-informed care is such an important part, so that we train our teachers to know that there's nothing wrong with the kid. They just learn different or they act different, and we're going to have them in the normal classroom here.
And I honestly feel like when teachers teach, they should teach a certain way, because, for example, like, you have some teachers that come in just, okay, so you get this equation, this, yeah, understand, yeah, okay, now we're gonna move on.
Oh.
I feel like you should do something to engage with the child, like, for example, like, you're teaching us, but you're also giving us movies, like, for example, this is it, you're engaging, this is what makes the class fun. But if you're just preaching and telling us, some students are gonna look like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm scared to tell you that.
I know.
I'm talking about.
Right. It is hard too, because that takes like a few years of teaching. Luckily now I've taught since 2009, so I have 12 or 13 years in, but I know you're right. New teachers, like the teacher's scared too and terrified. They got a PowerPoint. They just want to get through it and be like, you get it? And you're like, yeah. And then you leave and then nobody understands. But as you get deeper into learning, like they teach you how to teach in graduate programs and master's programs. So when they do that, they can help you. Oh my gosh, my shoes are falling apart. I wonder why. I'm getting water in. So absolutely. And hopefully some teachers get that from a teacher's evaluation too, or stuff that you write up on their eval. So, well, cool. It makes total sense why my shoes are getting wet. You have any other questions? Because I want to make sure we get you all ready for that paper. I guess it's not due until Monday, but I was thinking, you ever get a favorite pair of shoes and once they fall apart, you feel sad? Yeah. They got glue for that or something? The cool part about these is that they're like waterproof. So you like walk through the snow